most human deaths per year. And they say that every year there's between 8,000 and 15,000 human fatalities attributed to the Asian cobra bites. Now when I throw that, and that happened at the last show too, when I throw that number out, a guy literally just said, "Oh my God, that's a lot." There's a lot of factors that play into why so many people die from Asian cobra bites. The biggest factor is where you find the snake. It's found all the way from the east part of Asia, and then they get almost over to the Middle East. Right? So they cover the most densely populated parts of the world. China, India, you know, in areas like that. You also have to remember that in some of those areas, and I'm not just saying just in Asia, but Africa and South America are kind of the same way. In some of those areas, they don't have that medical network in place like what we find in the United States or that you find in, you know, in Australia and things like that. So you can throw that number out there and it's impressive, but there's all those factors that you have to also take into account when you're throwing that around.
So there is an anti-venom, but it's not widely available.
Exactly. In some of those areas, it is very remote, and you might literally, you know, it might be days before you get to a hospital. The other part is, you know, like in the U.S., I use this as an example. In the U.S., if you go to a hospital and, you know, you need a respirator, okay, if they don't have it, they'll work with other hospitals nearby and they'll get a respirator over there, you know, whatever. I'm just using that as an example, but whatever type of equipment that they need or whatever type of medicine they need. Our hospitals work together and things is the point to that. So.
Oh, you must taste good today.
What's that?
You must taste good today.
Yeah. Cobras, you know, very easy to identify. Their hood has got to be the most distinguishable feature. They form that by pushing out long ribs in the neck region, and then that is used as a defense. The snake is trying to make itself look big, and then they add that hissing sound to it, of course, adds to the effect. But that's all stuff that snake is doing as a defense when they put up like that.
Is that floor cold or warm?
This floor should be very comfortable to them.
Oh, okay.
As you get closer to the door, it starts getting a little bit cooler. The flip side of that question, I don't even know if you guys remember what we brought this snake out for anymore or not, but the flip side of the question was what snake has the most toxic venom? That's a little bit harder question to answer. When I was younger and I was coming out here, like in the 80s, used to say that the coral snake here in the United States had the most toxic venom. And then when I started here in '95, they said, no, it's actually a type of sea snake that has the most toxic venom. And then in the early 2000s, they redid that whole list again, and they said, no, it's actually the inland taipan from Australia. So that right now, from most of the information that's out there, they still agree that the inland taipan has the most toxic venom of all snakes, drop for drop. Ironically, there have been 0 human fatalities ever documented to the inland taipan. Okay, and so that just goes to show that it's not a guaranteed death. You know, a lot of times when we hear potency of venom, we just assume, you know, if it's the most potent venom, you must drop dead, and that's false. The potency of venom does not translate into how quickly it kills you. It's a measure of how much of the venom it takes. So that's a little bit confusing, but that's important that that's somewhat clear to you, you know, when that question is being addressed. Now, upstairs, we have an inland taipan that you can look at when you're up there. Somewhere on that label, it says something to the effect that it takes only 1 milligram of that taipan's venom to kill an adult person. Okay? From studies, they say that an adult taipan, when they bite in defense, can inject anywhere from 90 to 190 milligrams. So you get a huge dosage of venom from it, right? That's scary enough in itself, but then they taught us a neat way of explaining a milligram out here a few years ago. If you take an original chocolate M&M candy, it weighs about 1 gram, okay, and then cut that into 1,000 equal pieces, take one of those, and that's the equivalent amount that it would take of that taipan's venom. So you're talking about microscopic amounts of venom to, you know, ruin your day or even possibly kill you in some cases. Anything else on that one?
What is there about camouflage that attracts snakes?
About what's that?
What else attracts?
See that?
That seems to attract the snake.
What tends to attract them?
My
Camouflage.
jacket. Every display I went by, they came over and started crawling up the gas and I cleared the
Coincidence
glass.
more than anything. I've seen a lot of lizard like red. This guy obviously doesn't care about it.
Well, no,
He's
I-
coming more over here to anything. We do have spitting, a lot of people ask about spitting cobras. We've got 3 spitting cobras upstairs. Obviously, we don't bring those out here.